base outside of professional athletics. More and more baby boomers and others are turning to performance-enhancing drugs to regain what age has taken away. Some doctors are now selling these same substances as something of a fountain of youth. Kyung La introduces us to one doctor who says he practices what he preaches and doesn't mind being the 74-year-old face of the anti-aging movement.
This is the body of a man who uses performance-enhancing drugs, virtually the same ones connected to Lance Armstrong, Olympian Marion Jones, and baseball player Alex Rodriguez. But this man is not a professional athlete. Jeffrey Life is 74, with a rock-hard body, and he claims the mental sharpness of a man half his age.
Everyone's going to age. I'm not against aging. I'm against getting old.
And he claims no one has to, with daily rigorous workouts, a strict low-carb diet, and injections of testosterone and human growth hormone, or HGH.
What we use it for is to improve health, to slow disease and prevent disease, and to improve quality of life.
I like to think I'm kind of blazing a trail for the baby boomer generation.
A journey that Dr. Life, a family physician, began years ago. This was him before exercise and supplements. This is him today on a new book releasing next month.
How does this 74-year-old doctor keep looking younger and younger as he ages? The answer is the Cenegenics Elite Health Program.
Cenegenics is a company that runs a chain of clinics calling itself the nation's largest age management group, part of the exploding anti-aging industry that relies in part on testosterone and HGH. Last year, Cenegenics reports they made $100 million in revenue. The anti-aging industry targets America's about 80 million aging baby boomers looking for any way to turn back the hands of time. The Food and Drug Administration regulates the use of HGH, stressing the hormone is not an approved treatment for anti-aging. So how does Cenegenics not break any laws? By focusing on a natural loophole of sorts, the natural depletion of hormones as we age.
We are all about correcting deficiencies and getting levels up to a healthy level.
Dr. Life says his patients who are given HGH suffer from growth hormone deficiency, one of the few FDA-approved reasons for taking HGH. He says patients here go through a pituitary gland test to meet the FDA regulations. Cenegenics told 62-year-old Gerald Schlesinger that was his problem. Like all patients who take the hormones, Schlesinger says he is monitored and tested 4 times a year at Cenegenics for his testosterone and HGH intake. He now feels like he's 40. That comes with a hefty price tag. All this can cost up to $15,000 a year, cash only.
My health is first, and whatever it costs me, it's worth it.
If you think this is too good to be true, you're not alone. Many doctors agree, saying, sure, there may be short-term gain, but there will be long-term cost.
It's a fallacy to say that even in low doses that these drugs are not harmful.
Dr. Tom Pearls, a professor of medicine at Boston University School of Medicine, would not talk specifically about Cenegenics, but he is a vocal critic of the anti-aging movement.
I do believe that giving growth hormone in particular for anti-aging is quackery.
He says there are no reputable studies that show the hormones stop aging, and warns HGH in particular can enlarge organs, cause high blood pressure, and even trigger cancer.
What do you say to the medical community who says you're just selling a bunch of voodoo and this is potentially dangerous because it's so untested?
We do not know what the long-term consequences are going to be of testosterone replacement therapy and growth hormone replacement therapy.
What's wrong with just getting old?
It's an argument a lot of doctors use. But who wants to get old when you don't have to?
If next year, for some reason, you get cancer, will you blame these supplements?
No. No, I will not.
What he will do is continue to be the poster grandpa of a company and a movement that believes the riskier move is to turn away from this fountain of youth they found in diet, dumbbells, and drugs. Kyung La, CNN, Las Vegas.
Well, we heard from him about the payoffs, but what are the risks of taking performance-enhancing drugs like this? Earlier, I spoke with Dr. Ian Smith, author of Shred, The Revolutionary Diet. I'm curious to know what you make of this, because, I mean, everything I've heard about HGH is that, and I don't know if this is true, and it was alluded to in the piece, is that if you have a cancer tumor in your body, it will make that grow faster as well as other things?
Well, HGH has real clinical implications. I mean, typically, for example, for children who have some kind of pituitary problem, we give them HGH if they're deficient. So there are deficiencies in HGH. The problem is where do you draw the line between it being therapeutic and it being something kind of adventurous? For example, athletes using HGH. Now, in the case of Dr. Life and his patients, the question remains whether or not they're doing it because they're really deficient or because they're trying to get some of the performance enhancements of HGH.
Well, it seems like in some of these clinics, especially like in LA and Hollywood, where a lot of folks take this, especially in the entertainment industry, I mean, you can go for multiple blood tests and, you know, your testosterone levels vary, and so you just kind of take enough tests and finally you get a low testosterone level and they're like, oh, bingo, now you need testosterone.
That is the key, because people say, why isn't the FDA going after them when they're using these things that are not approved by the FDA, in ways not approved by the FDA? It's because you can make the argument that there is a deficiency and you're just replacing that deficiency. But the real elegant question is whether or not that deficiency is enough to require some type of therapeutic intervention. And that's where the line gets very blurry.
And it does seem like long-term, do doctors really know the consequences of this?
Here's the problem. The problem is that they have not done long-term studies in people who are using it in this particular fashion. Yes, we've done it in children for many, many years, but athletes and people who are using because they want the fountain of youth, per se, no, there are no long-term studies. And these things are dangerous. I mean, we're talking liver abnormalities, tumors, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, testicular shrinkage. I mean, all kinds of problems that happen using these drugs in a high quantity.
I can see why somebody in their 70s who, you know, feels like, you know what, why not? Let's go for it if I look good and feel better. But I think for young people, that seems to be where the biggest concern is.
Well, the problem is that, you know, it's not just about aesthetics. So Dr. Life looks like a young person, but the question is what is happening in his biological age? What's happening on the inside? The outside is not necessarily a mirror to the inside. And someone like that who maybe, I don't know how much he's using,
right,
but when you use these kind of anabolic steroids for a long period of time, you really are stressing out your organs and your chemical messenger system, and it could be a problem. So who knows how young he is inside? He looks young outside, and that's a problem.
Dr. Ian Smith, thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we'll be right back.